One of Indiana's largest employers is sharing its concerns after the state passed a near total ban on abortions. Now, Indiana is the first state to pass such a measure since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. The pharmaceutical giant, that's Eli Lilly and Company, warned this: we will be forced to plan for more employment growth outside our home state as state laws change across the country. Now, doctors are becoming increasingly concerned. They're very worried about what they can and cannot do for their patients. So we spoke to 4 OBGYNs from Arizona, Wisconsin, Ohio, and Georgia about how state abortion laws create a lot of confusion. And all of them expressed concerns the new laws will put their patients' health at risk.
As soon as we heard the decision, we closed everything down, leaving over 70 women in Wisconsin with appointments that we weren't able to do for them.
We've been preparing. It didn't make it any more devastating.
I remember asking, when is the law going to change? How much time do we have to get ready for it? And they started to text back and say, the law has actually changed right now.
I've lived in the South for most of my life. This is my community, and I'm very concerned about the ability of my patients, my community, to access the care that we need.
When medicine is criminalized, physicians are scared to do the jobs they're trained to do, and that absolutely impacts patient care.
People are very quick to talk about how these abortion restrictions have medical emergency exceptions, but for us as clinicians actually practicing on the ground, those exceptions just don't really make sense.
Now, many of those options have been taken away, and that is just unbearable for all of us.
Some women will have what we call a spontaneous miscarriage, where they start to miscarry on their own.
We have to counsel them that they may get very sick, that they may develop a life-threatening infection, and it could potentially cost them their lives.
You can't make a one-size-fits-all definition or law that can take all of these situations into account.
We're seeing issues in labor and delivery, for example, of women with pre-viable pregnancies that come in with infection that need to be delivered. And so there's a lot of back and forth as to how sick does the patient need to be to get delivered.
Does she have to develop an infection? Can we intervene before she develops an infection?
How sick does she have to be before the staff felt comfortable delivering her because of this law hanging over our head?
If someone who's pregnant comes in after getting in a car accident or comes in with an inflamed appendix, our doctor's going to be afraid to get imaging, to take them to surgery if they need surgery, because with those treatments, there is a chance that you could inadvertently cause an abortion.
What if someone has cancer and they're not going to die right then, but because they don't receive abortion care, they don't receive the usual cancer care that they would receive, and thus they die from their cancer 5 years later? Is that a life that we could have saved?
Doctors are having to figure out, does this fit under the law? Am I going to be criminalized for intervening?
I think physicians are afraid that they will be accused of providing abortion care when really they're providing miscarriage management.
I think my greatest fear is how our patients are going to be able to get the care they need.
It means so much to me to be able to take care of my patients, and they are suffering because of this. Suffering economically, suffering, their families are suffering, their futures will suffer. But some of them are going to die, and they could be saved. That's a travesty.
Another big concern is misinformation, the doctors say. One of them we spoke to said she heard from a pregnant patient who is too afraid to get the medical care. Why? Because she fears that her health will be sacrificed for her unborn child. OBGYNs are also concerned that doctors will now leave their states and create even more of a healthcare vacuum. You know, the doctors on the ground, guys who are doing the work, have a very important voice in this conversation. They laid out different scenarios I'd never thought about before, that they deal with all the time.
And we have to understand, because there is no uniformity, there is confusion for these doctors. All the while, there's lives at risk, the mother and the baby.
Yeah, it's clearly a lot more complicated than you think. You just read the headlines.
Right.
And this is government getting in between the relationship of a patient and their doctor, and doctors don't know what to do.
Right.
All right, to be sorted out. We'll keep following it. In the meantime, we will be right back with more CBS Mornings. Thank you for watching. We appreciate it.